Welcome back to our channel, soap fans. Today is a beautiful, thrilling day to dive deep into the explosive drama currently unfolding in Genoa City. Grab your favorite beverage and settle in, because the Newman family is sitting on a massive powder keg, and the fuse has just been lit. Let us break down every shocking twist and turn. The betrayal is absolute. The lines are drawn in the sand. The longest-standing, most formidable alliance in Genoa City has just been shattered into a million irreparable pieces. Victor Newman has always demanded absolute loyalty. He expects his soldiers to fall in line. He expects his fixers to clean up his messes without a single question asked. But he has just pushed his most valuable asset entirely too far. Michael Baldwin is no longer the loyal servant. He has officially crossed the line. He has chosen to represent Phyllis Summers. And Victor's reaction, pure, unadulterated, volcanic rage. He banished Michael from the Newman ranch. He threw him out like yesterday's trash. It was a brutal, shocking display of power. But power can be blinding. Hubris is a dangerous disease. Victor's pride has just blinded him to the catastrophic reality of what he has done. He has not just fired a lawyer. He has weaponized his own vault of secrets. What happens next with Michael Baldwin and Victor? Is this truly the bitter, ugly end of the most effective fixer alliance in the history of the young and the restless? Absolutely. My gut feeling is telling me that Michael Baldwin is about to become the most dangerous man in Genoa City. Think about the sheer volume of dirt this man possesses. For decades, Michael has been the silent architect of Victor's legal salvation. He knows where every single body is buried. He knows the loopholes, the bribes, the backroom deals, and the silent threats. He knows the exact anatomy of the Newman Empire because he helped build its legal armor. Now, Victor has handed that armor directly to his worst enemies. Do not be surprised for a single second if Michael uses absolutely everything he knows about Victor to dismantle this AI-generated framing case step by agonizing step. He knows how Victor's mind works. He knows the lengths the mustache will go to in order to win. And this is the moment I almost screamed at the screen. How could Victor be so incredibly reckless? With Victor's long, documented history of always playing his hand too aggressively, this situation has all the makings of being his biggest, most devastating mistake in decades. He is practically begging for his empire to be torn down. Look at the board. Look at the players aligning against him. Christine Romalotti has the police badge and the prosecutorial power. Lauren Fenmore Baldwin has the fierce, unwavering loyalty to her husband and her best friend. Phyllis Summers has the ultimate legal shark standing right by her side. The mustache might have just lit the very match that will burn his own empire to the ground. He thought he was trapping Phyllis. He thought he was securing his legacy. Instead, he has ignited a corporate and legal war that could result in his own spectacular downfall. While the corporate world of Genoa City is catching fire, the personal lives of the Newman family are completely falling apart. The trauma of Las Vegas is still bleeding into their everyday reality. Nick Newman is a broken man. He is carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. The physical and psychological toll of the past few weeks has left him shattered. He finally sits down to have a deeply emotional, painfully honest conversation with his mother, Nikki Newman. The air in the room is thick with unspoken fears. Nick looks exhausted. His eyes tell a story of sheer terror and survival. He admits to Nikki that Sienna Bacall is making a wild, shocking claim. Sienna is telling everyone that she killed Matt Clark. She claims she ended the monster's life out in the unforgiving desert. But Nick is not buying it. He is smart. He knows Matt Clark. He knows the devil does not die that easily. Nick tells his mother that he will remain completely vigilant and wary until he sees absolute, undeniable proof of a body. But the conversation takes a much darker, much more tragic turn. Nick cannot hide his demons anymore. The truth has to come out. He takes a deep, shaky breath. He confesses to his mother that he has fallen down a terrifying rabbit hole. He admits to abusing opioid painkillers. It started innocently enough. He ran out of his legitimate prescription. The doctors refused to give him more. The physical pain was unbearable. The psychological trauma was suffocating. So, he turned to the streets. He turned to illicit substances to numb the agonizing reality of his life. He confesses that the situation spiraled completely out of control. It got so bad that even Adam Newman noticed the signs while they were trapped in the nightmare of Las Vegas. Adam saw the withdrawal. Adam saw the desperation. And then, Nick drops the most horrifying bombshell of all. He tells Nikki about the tainted batch of drugs. He reveals that Matt Clark, in a sick, twisted act of psychological and physical torture, intentionally supplied him with a laced batch of fentanyl. Matt wanted him to overdose. Matt wanted him to die a humiliating, agonizing death. Nikki's reaction is visceral. The horror washes over her face. The blood drains from her cheeks. She is absolutely horrified, sickened to her core. Realizing that her beloved son was mere inches away from death, as a recovering alcoholic, Nikki knows the insidious, suffocating grip of addiction. She knows how easily it can steal a life. The thought of losing Nick to a deliberate overdose orchestrated by a psychopath brings her to tears. It is a mother's worst nightmare realized in vivid, terrifying detail. But Nick is a fighter. He always has been. He reaches out, taking his mother's trembling hands in his own. He desperately tries to reassure her. He tells her that he is not giving up. He reveals that Sharon Newman, the woman who has always been his anchor in the darkest of storms, has already stepped in. Sharon has found a rigorous outpatient treatment program for him. Nick looks Nikki dead in the eye and promises her that he is determined to get the help he so desperately needs. He is ready to fight the addiction. He is ready to reclaim his life. It is a powerful, poignant moment of vulnerability between mother and son, but even in his broken state, Nick cannot stop trying to fix everyone else around him. He is the eternal peacemaker of the Newman family. Nick gently shifts the conversation. He brings up the massive, gaping wound that is currently destroying his parents' marriage. He tells Nikki that he wants to help mend the fractured relationship between her and Victor. He wants to bridge the gap. He wants his family whole again, but Nikki immediately shuts it down. Her walls go right back up, the warmth vanishes, replaced by a cold, hardened exterior. She tells Nick in no uncertain terms that their marriage is not his responsibility. It is not his job to fix them. Furthermore, she highly doubts that healing is even possible this time. The damage is too profound. Victor's stubborn pride and his refusal to acknowledge his mistakes regarding Nick's addiction have pushed Nikki past her breaking point. She refuses to compromise her morals just to appease her husband's massive ego. The deep, bitter fracture in the Newman marriage is put on full display shortly after. The tension is palpable. You can cut it with a knife. Nikki decides to head over to the Newman ranch. She needs to clear her head. She needs the therapeutic rhythm of riding her horses. The stables have always been her sanctuary, but there is no peace to be found at the ranch today. Victor is there. The air between them instantly drops 10 degrees. They stand in the very place they built together, surrounded by their legacy, yet they have never been further apart. It is a tragic, beautiful, heartbreaking scene. The majestic horses in the background, contrasting with the ugly, stubborn pride of the two billionaires in the foreground. Every single word exchanged between Victor and Nikki is laced with ice. Every glance is a silent battle. Nick had tried so desperately to pave the way for them to talk, to truly communicate. But his efforts were entirely in vain. Both Victor and Nikki stubbornly refuse the opportunity to heal their marriage. Neither is willing to bend. Neither is willing to utter a single apology. Victor believes his heavy-handed, dictatorial approach is the only way to protect his family. Nikki believes his lack of empathy and his refusal to support Nick's structured recovery is a fatal flaw. They are at a complete, devastating stalemate. The great Newman romance, a love story that has spanned decades and survived countless tragedies, is currently suffocating under the immense weight of their own egos. Victor Newman's entire philosophy is built on the concept of absolute control. He manipulates the chessboard of Genoa City with a cold, calculating precision that has kept him in power for half a century. But control is an illusion when you introduce human emotion into the equation. By firing Michael Baldwin, Victor allowed his volcanic rage to override his legendary strategic brilliance. For years, Michael was the silent architect of Victor's immunity. When Victor crossed ethical lines, Michael blurred the legal ones. When Victor buried his enemies, Michael buried the shovels. To sever that bond in a moment of pure, unchecked anger is an act of stunning self-sabotage. Michael is not just a lawyer, he is a vault of Newman sins. And Victor just handed the combination to Phyllis Summers. The dynamic at the Summers conglomerate is electric. Phyllis is pacing the floors, her mind racing with a million different ways to evade the federal penitentiary. Christine Romalotti is circling like a shark, armed with a badge and a vendetta that spans decades. Christine does not just want to win a case, she wants to destroy Phyllis. But Christine is unwittingly playing into Victor's hands, relying on AI-generated evidence that is flawless on the surface but rotten at its core. This is where Michael Baldwin becomes the ultimate wild card. He knows Victor's technological capabilities. He knows Victor's history of fabricating evidence to suit his narrative. Michael has the unique ability to unravel this digital tapestry because he knows the weaver. He knows exactly which threads to pull to make Victor's entire case unravel in open court. And Lauren Fenmore Baldwin, she is the emotional anchor in this legal hurricane. Her loyalty to Phyllis is legendary, but her love for Michael is absolute. She is watching her husband put his entire career, his reputation, and his freedom on the line to fight the most powerful man in the state. Lauren knows the wrath of Victor Newman. She knows that Victor does not just defeat his enemies, he annihilates them. But Lauren also knows her husband's brilliance. She knows that when Michael is pushed into a corner, he becomes a legal lethal weapon. The synergy between Phyllis, Michael, and Lauren is a formidable force. They are not just fighting for a company, they are fighting for their very survival. Meanwhile, the shadows of Las Vegas continue to stretch across the Newman family, darkening every doorway. Nick's confession to Nikki was not just an admission of guilt, it was a desperate plea for salvation. The physical reality of opioid withdrawal is a specialized kind of hell. The cold sweats, the bone-deep aches, the suffocating anxiety. Nick is battling all of it while trying to maintain a facade of strength. When he told Nikki about the fentanyl, about Matt Clark's deliberate attempt to murder him with a lace patch, the reality of their vulnerability crashed down upon them. Matt Clark is not just a ghost from the past, he is an active, breathing nightmare who is currently orchestrating their destruction from the shadows. Nikki's reaction to Nick's addiction is profoundly layered. As a woman who has fought the demon of alcoholism for decades, she intimately understands the shame, the secrecy, and the terrifying loss of control. She looks at her son and sees her own struggles reflected in his tired eyes. The genetic component of addiction is a heavy burden to bear, and Nikki feels a crushing sense of maternal guilt. She wonders if she passed this curse down to him. She wonders if her past failures somehow paved the way for his current crisis. But her guilt is quickly eclipsed by a fierce, protective rage. She is furious at Matt Clark for weaponizing her son's pain, and she is furious at Victor for his callous, dismissive approach to Nick's recovery. Victor's inability to show vulnerability is the fatal flaw in his marriage. He views Nick's addiction not as a disease, but as a weakness to be eradicated through sheer willpower. He refuses to acknowledge the necessity of structured treatment, believing that a Newman should simply be able to conquer anything through stubborn resolve. This ideological chasm between Victor and Nikki is widening by the second. When Nikki retreated to the ranch, seeking the quiet companionship of her horses, she was looking for an escape from the emotional chaos, but Victor's presence turned her sanctuary into a battlefield. The stables, usually filled with the comforting scents of hay and leather, were thick with unspoken resentment. Victor stood tall, his posture rigid, his pride an impenetrable armor. Nikki stood her ground, her eyes flashing with a defiant sorrow. They are two people who love each other deeply, yet they are currently incapable of translating that love into support. Nick's desperate attempt to play the mediator only highlighted the futility of their situation. You cannot fix a bridge when both sides refuse to lay down the bricks. Victor demands compliance, Nikki demands empathy. Until one of them is willing to surrender their pride, their marriage will remain in a state of indefinite, agonizing suspension. As the sun sets on Genoa City, the landscape is forever altered. The corporate towers are housing secrets that could topple empires. The sprawling estates are filled with broken people fighting invisible wars. Michael Baldwin is sharpening his legal knives, preparing to dissect the very man he spent his life protecting. Nick Newman is fighting for his sobriety, haunted by the specter of Matt Clark and the terrifying uncertainty of Sienna's claims. And Victor Newman, the great patriarch, stands alone in his fortress, completely unaware that the walls are slowly starting to crumble around him. He lit the match, he fanned the flames. But can he control the inferno?